Hello everyone, welcome to one another session. Let's learn about part 3 of the chapter Should Wizard Hit Mommy by John Updike. So before we continue with the story, let's have a quick recapitulation of the story we have read so far. In the story, we have learned that Jack tells a story to Joe about Roger's skunk as it was demanded by her. The Roger creature suffers from a very bad foul smell, and as a result of which the other creatures of the woodland won't play with him, and they despised him. This made Roger's skunk extremely upset. And after some time, he goes to the wise old owl, and the owl directs him to go to the wizard. And finally, Roger's skunk meets the wizard, and the wizard helps him with the help of his magic wand and the magic spell performed by him. And finally, Roger's skunk starts smelling like roses. This makes Joe very much happy. And then this way the story continues, and although a slight mistake was made by Jack during the storytelling session, and it was a slip of tongue, as instead of saying Roger skunk, he said Roger fish, which was seriously objected by Joe. And in this way we see that how small children, or how a small child demands a serious behavior and serious statements from their adults. So Jack continues with the story. So the wizard said, "Oh, very well, go to the end of the lane and turn around 3 times and look down the magic well, and there you will find 3 pennies. As we have learned that Roger's skunk, as it usually occurs in each story of Jack, that the Roger creatures falls short of money, and then the wizard himself asked him to go to a particular place where he could find the extra pennies. So, and hurry up. So Roger's skunk went to the end of the lane and turned around there as it was directed by the wizard. And he turns around 3 times there, and there in the magic well there were 3 pennies. And finally he took the 3 pennies and went to the wizard and paid him for the magic performance. And then just after this he went to the woods, and he went into the woods and he played with all other animals. All other animals gathered around him, because now he no more smelt foul, and he smelled good. He smelled of roses. And they all played various kind of games like tag, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, hockey, soccer, and pick up sticks. Now, at this point, there was something that again makes Joe to make another question, to raise another question, because she never tried to ignore unknown things, and pick up sticks was somewhat new thing for Joe. So she made inquiry about that. What's pick up sticks? And Jack tells her that it's a kind of game we play with sticks. And she further confirmed that, is it exactly like wizard's magic wand? So Jack said yes, kind of similar, somewhat similar to that. And then he continued with the story that they played all games and had a very happy and fun time together all afternoon. And then it began to get dark, and when it began to get dark, all of them ran home to their mommies. And at this point, Joe thought that the story was over with a happy ending, and she just started making fuss with her hands and looked out through the window. And she looked out through the window at the crack of the day that showed under the shade that was visible through the curtain. And for a moment she became less serious towards the story of Jack, and this made Jack a little annoyed, and because she thought the story was all over. And Jack never liked this part of behavior of women, when they took anything for granted, when they never took things seriously. and he wished that women should be more apprehensive, or they should be more concerned and caring in their behavior. So hanging on his words, he just tried to draw the attention of Jo again, that now, Jo, are you listening to me? And she agreed. And then he continued with the story that because this is, why did he wish to draw the attention of Joe? Because he was going to tell something very interesting and something very important about life. Because this is very interesting, Roger Skunk's mummy said, and as soon as he tells Joe that as soon as Roger Skunk reached home, how did his mother react to that smell of roses? What's that awful smell? This was the reaction of Roger Skunk's mother, as if she didn't like the smell. And Joe was extremely astonished at such reaction of Skunk's mother. What? She reacted in a very surprising manner. And Jack continued, and Roger Skunk in response said, it's me, tried to draw the attention of his mother. It's me, mommy. I smell now like roses. And she said, and she objected this, who made you smell like that? And he said, Roger Skunk said, the wizard. And she said, well, of all the nerve. Of all the nerve is a kind of expression to express disagreement full of annoyance. So, and then immediately she just made up her mind and she asked him to come along with her, and both of them went right back to that very awful wizard. Now, this was the part of the story that made Joe completely dissatisfied and unhappy. Joe immediately sat up, her hands dabbling in the making quick movements and restless movements in the air with genuine fright. She was very much afraid of the next that was going to happen with Roger Skunk. And she said, but daddy, then he said, didn't Roger Skunk tell his mother the way all the other little animals behave with him due to his bad foul smell? And when she said, her hand skittered off, or just made quick movements and went inside the bed cover underbrush. He said, all right, he said, but mommy, all the other little animals, and he agreed, Jack agreed with this part of the story suggested by Joe, that Roger Skunk should tell his mother that how do the other animals behave towards him. So he agreed and added this part, and Roger Skunk told his mother that all the little animals run away. And how did she respond to this when Roger Skunk made this complaint? She said, I don't care, that she didn't bother, and it was a natural smell. He smells the way a little skunk should smell, and that's why she was going to take him back to the wizard, and she would just compel that wizard to bring back his original smell. And then she took an umbrella and went back with Roger Skunk. And then just after reaching there, she hit that wizard right over the head. And Joe totally disliked this behavior, this demeanor of Roger Skunk's mother. She said no. Joe said no. And she tried to put her hand out to touch her father's lips, that he should not speak this movement or this development in the story. She didn't like this to happen, but still she could not stop his father telling the truth. A kind of inspiration came to her, some idea struck her mind, and she said that instead of saying this, Daddy, you should say that this should happen in the story, that the wizard hit her or hit Roger Skunk's mother on her head, and he refused to change that little skunk's smell back. Now, Joe wished that this should happen in the story, that the wizard should hit the mummy right on her head and should not change the little skunk back to his original smell. But Jack disagreed. No, he said. The wizard said, okay. And Jack didn't want this ending to the story. And he said that Roger Skunk no more smelled like roses and he again started smelling bad. But what about the other little animal? So Jo was a little girl, so she could not pronounce the words properly. So now this behavior, this interruption, extreme interruption of Jo annoyed Jack a little, and he became a little severe in his attitude towards Jo, and this time he said, "Joan, it's Daddy's story. Shall Daddy not tell you any more stories?" And as soon as he made this statement, her broad face looked at him through the sifted light, and she looked completely surprised, astounded. And then he continued with the story that this is what happened. Then Roger Skunk and his mommy went home and they heard the woo woo, and it was the choo choo train bringing Daddy Skunk home from Boston. Means again the story like several other Roger creatures, a story of Jack ended happily with the family getting together, father joining the family and their supper. And in the supper, in their dinner, they had lima beans, celery, liver, mashed potatoes, and pie oh my for dessert. And when Roger Skunk, before going to bed or was in bed, Mommy Skunk came to her and she hugged him and she just tried to show her love and affection towards him, and she was happy that her son again started smelling like her little baby skunk, and she loved him very much, she told him, and that's the end of the story. Jo was not happy with this ending of the story and she objected, but Daddy, what? Then did the other, and what about the other little animals? He said, did they run away? She asked. No, he said, because eventually, at the end, finally, they all got habitual of that foul smell of Roger Skunk and they stopped making any more complaint. What's now eventually is somewhat a new word for Jo, and she made further inquiry about what's eventually, and that means in a little while. And she made a judgmental statement that how stupid Roger Skunk's mommy was. And that's all for this part.